Hey, fellow adventurers! Get ready for a heartwarming journey into the bonus content for Gretchen's Misadventures Episode 7, The Troll and the Minotauress. Today we're unveiling a love poem that will melt your heart, diving into research straight from the Academy's archives, exploring a poignant short story following Jurgen's heartbreak, and presenting an exclusive bonus illustration. Join us as we delve into the emotional depths of misadventure. The Labyrinth's Beast. While little is known about the island itself, the peoples of the southern continent are all familiar with the tale of the bovine monster which lurks inside the island's maze. The archives suggest this creature has inhabited the stark landscape for centuries, which lends itself to the notion that perhaps they are descendants of a herd of cattle left stranded after a disaster on the seas. Nevertheless, folk tales abound, and while there appears to be some split among the native peoples on the issue, both agree the beast is formidable and will chew the bones of all who dare trespass on its territory. Some send their champions across the waves in challenge, while others take harvest offerings arranged in magnificent displays. The matter warrants further investigation by the Academy. However, any attempts to study the situation should be handled with the utmost diplomacy. Matters of jurisdiction with the Grant Sorceress must be addressed. To date, the covens on the southern continent have been furiously tight-lipped, despite my inquiries, which only makes the situation stranger. We must ensure they are not hiding anything more sinister which could rival the Academy's power. Tabitha Brightstar. Gone fishing. Jurgen nailed the crudely painted sign above the door to the Salton Bog, hoping it would steer the barflies away for a time. He was sick of turning the miscreants away personally, with their prying questions and pitiful looks. Jurgen supposed it was Nora's doing, that he hadn't seen a single gnome all day, even if he'd sent her away in a huff the night before. But the sanctity of a gone fishing sign would surely be respected by the tavern's mostly male customers. If it wasn't, well, perhaps a spell of fishing wouldn't be a bad idea. After barring the door behind him, Jurgen studiously ignored half-empty tankards as he made his way to the kitchen and up the stairs. The mess could wait until he cared, if he ever could care again. His tousled bedsheets called to him, and kicking off his boots, Jurgen climbed back into bed with only a mind for seeking oblivion. Aguilada, his kindred spirit forever lost to him. The crumpled love letters on the nightstand, read and reread in a self-indulgent pity party, were too tempting to rehash, so Jurgen crammed them into a drawer and dragged his hands over his face. Then a bang on the front door sounded downstairs, and Jurgen bellowed in a wordless snarl. All he wanted was to be left alone. Tugging the blanket up over his head, Jurgen clenched his teeth and screwed his eyes shut in the hope they'd give up and go away. But as the banging only became more insistent, Jurgen climbed out of bed with a mind to get away from the Salton Bog and into the sheltering depths of the nearby forest. Grabbing a cloak, he pinned it around his shoulders and stuffed a bag with blankets should his travels take him further afield. His fishing pole and gear remained in the storeroom downstairs, and he snuck down to tie the equipment together with a stout leather belt. Thankfully, whoever was calling had the decency to knock on the front door, so Jurgen slipped out the back and over the fence toward the wall of trees across the field. He didn't look back once, and nobody called out to stop him. Spending time out in the wilds conjured mixed feelings for the enchanted troll. While he was sure he had no brethren nearby, there was something about being away from the reminders of everyday life that evoked a strange longing. It didn't make sense. It wasn't like he wanted to live like a beast under a bridge again, but the struggle to understand why and what he was only underlined one pertinent fact. As a talking troll who ran a tavern, he would only ever be a curiosity to others. He belonged nowhere and to no one. The only other soul who could understand that kind of loneliness was her. The smell of damp earth filled Jurgen's senses before the sounds of running water. The Solar River cut through the forest on its path to Edgewater, and at least upstream from the village the waters were clear and the fish in good supply. He settled onto an accommodating rock, jutting from the sandy soil within angling distance, but didn't reach for his fishing pole just yet. Jurgen couldn't decide if he believed in fate. If his path was guided by the hands of an intangible force, the lot he'd been given seemed all the more cruel. To find and lose someone who understood him completely, all in the blink of an eye, served no greater purpose as far as he could see. Though with the revelations of Agalada's immortality, perhaps he'd been simply a vehicle for her enlightenment. Jurgen reached into his pack for some bait, and a flash of light from his periphery caught his eye. Surging from the water was a glimmering lithe form, and Jurgen felt anger rise from his belly. "Isn't there anywhere I can go be alone?" he spat at the water nymph. Her laughter was infuriatingly light, like the trickling of water through river stones, and she propelled herself further from the water's surface in a dazzling twirl. "Alone is dangerous for one in your condition. Your mood sours my landscape and brings a heavy cloud over my domain." "Fine," Jurgen grunted as he stood. "I'll go fish someplace else." "I think not," she chided. "For one who reaches through the veil would have your attention." Jurgen blinked at the naiad, untrusting of her cryptic words. "Water may not be her element, but nature is close enough." The naiad crooked her finger. "Come, her spirit is roiling with turbulence. I'd not have my equilibrium disrupted much longer." Struck dumb, it took a moment for Jurgen to convince his feet to propel him forward. He kicked off his boots by the water and waded in up to his knees, the naiad meeting him halfway. "There," she crooned. Then her face took on a nasty scowl. "I'll only suffer this intrusion once, and fleetingly. If I see you near my waters again, I'll make it my business to drown you." Her form swelled and morphed into something alarmingly familiar. Long curved horns sprouted from the side of her watery head, and the shape of her eyes were an aching reminder of their deep brown colour. He reached and stopped just short of stroking an ear, which should have been velvet soft, and felt his eyes clouding with tears. "Jurgi?" Her voice sounded off, but her pet name for him couldn't have been conjured by a trickster nymph. "We didn't have a proper goodbye. My soul has been restless since the explosion." "Agalada," Jurgen breathed. He reached to cup her cheek, stopping just short of the swelling water. "But how?" "I was perhaps not as truthful with you in life as I should have been. My age, and how I came to be bound to the island, is something I prefer not to dwell on, but those are not secrets that consume me." Her eyes welled with tears, strangely distinct with her watery features. "The look on your face when I destroyed the pillar, I felt no physical pain, only the tearing of my heart. We could have found another way." Jurgen shook his head and felt a tear slide down his cheek. "If Gretchen hadn't—" "Don't blame her." Agalada closed her eyes. "She was right, you know. I was so attached to this plane, I was willing to overlook the atrocities Locathil inflicted with my labyrinth. He had to be stopped, and the only way it could happen was— well, I did what was right." The words stung, and though they rang true, Jurgen wanted desperately not to believe them. "There's no undoing it now, but if I— can we be together beyond the veil?" "Don't even think it." The water holding Agalada's form shuddered. "I will not welcome you there until you're old and grey, Jurgi. You have life left to live, and I wouldn't see your candle snuffed before time." The water continued to lurch, and fearful she would disappear, words tumbled from Jurgen's mouth. "How could I possibly wait that— I waited longer than you could possibly fathom to find you." Her voice was firm. "What is one single lifetime compared with that?" Jurgen sniffled, tears streaming down his fuzzy cheeks, but her watery form melted back into the shape of the nymph before he could reply. The naiad dove backward into the water, leaving Jurgen in the river alone, all alone. As he trudged back to the riverbank to sink on a log, a confounding sense of the bittersweet took hold. She was gone, but one day he would see her again. Immortal love, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee Jurgen's breadth and height. My soul can reach beyond labyrinth's sight, for the ends of being an ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by opaque enchanted light. I love thee freely as I am not by right. I love thee purely from my humble maze. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and lonesome faith. I love thee with a love I seem to entangle with my realm of coils. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if fate chose, I shall but love thee better after death. Aguilada. And finally, we have this bonus illustration by Rod Savely depicting Gretchen stuck on the outside of the labyrinth. We hope you enjoyed the heartfelt love poem, the Academy Archives, Jurgen's short story, and the exclusive bonus illustration from episode 7, The Troll and the Minotauress. If you're craving more adventures and exclusive behind-the-scenes treasures, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Until next time, may your days be filled with magic, mischief, and a touch of heartwarming misadventure.